Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna, 6 o'clock hour is upon us. We're gonna begin the City of Social Circle Planning Commission meeting tonight. It is June 28th at 6 p.m. We do have a few items of business to get through before we get to the public hearing process. We do have a quorum tonight with Ms. Sonora Jackson absent. The rest of the members are present. We have the minutes from the May 24th meeting. We all had a copy of them delivered to us last week. Do we note any additions, any omissions or errors that need to be corrected? If not, the chair will entertain a motion to approve those minutes as posted.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
And I'll second it.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, likewise. None. It's a unanimous decision to approve the minutes from May 24th. So before we move into the public hearings, we got a few public hearing items on the agenda tonight, folks. How a public hearing works is staff will introduce the public hearing item in the order of published on the agenda. Once the staff gives a staff report, the applicant will be called up to the podium to speak. The applicant has a total of 10 minutes and may reserve some time for rebuttal if he or she decides they need to do so. Upon closing of the applicant's public hearing time, the chair will call upon all those who would like to speak in favor of the request. Again, likewise, the total who would like to speak in favor have 10 minutes, not 10 minutes each. Upon closing of those who would like to speak in favor, we'll open up the floor to anyone who would like to speak in opposition. Again, anyone who would like to speak in opposition will have a total of 10 minutes, not 10 minutes each. Upon closing of the public hearing, the Planning Commission will have a deliberation amongst ourselves. We may ask the applicant some additional questions, and then we will make a recommendation. Our recommendations tonight are not final decisions, but they do go before the mayor and council, who has the final decision. So with that said, we'll open up the first public hearing item is location of 434 South Cherokee Road. It's a variance for a carport in the side yard. I'm going to ask Ms. Barbara to please give us a staff report and go through this for us.
Yes, sir. Chairman and commission members, this is an application for a variance to build a carport in the side yard. Our ordinances state that accessory structures are to be built in the rear yard. The property was recently renovated and it has the concrete parking pad as you can see here. This address is 434 South Cherokee Road. It is in the historic district and has went before the historic preservation on the design. The historic preservation approved the application for a COA at the regular meeting on June the 14th, 2022. The COA is approved for construction of a carport located adjacent to the house as shown. And I'm going to show you just a couple little pictures. This is some side pictures that they provided looking from the backyard toward the street. The construction of the carport location would be covering this carport pad. This is a sample of the carport they'd like to construct. Pretty much it would match the house. HPC did advise that they would like to see the gables that you see here open. They'd like to see those enclosed with hardy plank or siding. The staff would recommend that the Planning Commission consider approval of the variance request and the carport to be built according to the HPC standards and in the side yard instead of the rear yard.
Okay. Are there any questions of Barbara from the Planning Commission at this time? Thank you. Applicant, would you please?
This is Mr. and Mrs. Thompson at 434 South Cherokee Road.
Hello. Thank you. Please state your name and address for the record. And
It's Suzanne Thompson, Josh Thompson, 434 South Cherokee Road.
so your carport. Yeah. I don't want to speak for everyone up here, but I'll say I think you guys done a great job with the house, restoration of that, and making it y'all's home. Obviously, the ordinance requires any accessory structures have to be into the rear. Although the rear of your yard is quite small, you do have your parking pad right there. It's understandable. In order to be considered part of the house and not an accessory, it would have to be attached, but that's obviously difficult to do in this configuration. We understand that, or I understand that. Question I had for you guys, and I had this of the Historic Preservation Commission, and the chairman is here tonight. I did speak with him. The gable ends. On the application you provided, they're open gable ends. Historic Preservation made a determination that they are to be closed. In order to tie that into your architecture of your house, the front gable of your house on the front porch has a cedar shake, cementous board siding in there. Would you all be agreeable to enclosing the gable ends with that same type of cedar shake?
Is it cedar shake or, I mean, we actually looked at the house before we left and
It looks like it's all just siding,
it's siding. I don't have
but
any
it has
cedar.
kind of a wavy
Well,
look.
yeah,
The
it-
old, like when they built the older.
Yeah, that's, let me see.
That's
Yeah,
in the gable. That's
Yes.
that's a cedar shake type.
Oh,
Oh, yeah,
gotcha,
you are
gotcha,
right.
gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah, we could do that. We were
Yeah, for
thinking
sure.
originally it would be this, the siding, but
Yeah, we
either
could do
one.
that.
You're right, yeah.
You
But-
know our house better than we do.
Yeah.
I never look up there.
Uh,
Yeah.
Just by doing that, it ties it better in with the
Sure.
architecture of the house.
Yeah,
Just
makes
to,
sense.
you know, that might be something that the planning commission recommends, and we would certainly ask the HPC what their thoughts were when they looked at this from the historic preservation aspect. Are there any questions of the applicants?
That's pretty straightforward.
Is there anything you'd like for us to know?
No, just appreciate the time.
Yeah, and other than that, I mean, really, our whole goal with doing anything with the house, this project included, would be to tie it into the house and including, you know, the columns that you saw on the drawing,
Yes, sir.
matching the columns that are on the porch, and so forth. So that, yeah, our whole goal is to make it look
Like
like
it
the
was
house.
there.
This is really just an example of the construction, really. So, in fact, the cedar shake, I think that
We look good.
looks better than the siding, so yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you, folks. We'll open up anyone who would like to speak in favor of this request may do so at this time. Obviously, you guys are excluded from that. You are the applicant.
We're definitely in favor.
Yeah, we're gonna count us in.
Absolutely. If there's anyone who'd like to speak in favor of this request for variance, now's the time to please come forward. If there's anyone who'd like to speak in opposition to this request, now's the time to come forward. Hearing no public hearing, I would like to close the public hearing, but I would like to hear from Mr. Tom Brown, the
Yeah.
Historic Preservation Commission chairperson.
Right. We did meet earlier this month, 2 weeks ago, to talk about the request for the carport, which we approved. And we like the change you're talking about for the cedar shake. It would tie in better with the house, so we support that change.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Yes, sir.
Are there any questions, concerns, discussion items the planning commission has on this request? Okay. Well, the chair will entertain a motion, and if the planning commission sees fit about the cedar shake, the applicant was acceptable to it, and the Historic Preservation Commission would support that as well.
I'm going to make a motion
Okay.
that we grant the variance with the condition that the end gables be enclosed with a cedar shake facade to match the house.
Have a
Second.
Have a motion and a second by Mr. Griswold. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Thank you. That was a unanimous decision. Thank you so much. Now, the wheels of government are fun to watch, but please don't feel that you have to stay here.
Only watching grass grow.
Maybe coming back to you.
You might, absolutely. So, again, you folks are welcome to stay. We've got 2 more items of business tonight. And again, we just make a recommendation. The decision falls within the hands of the mayor and council, which you've got on their next agenda, I believe. So the next item is a conditional use for 568 North Cherokee Road. Ms. Barber, would you introduce that for us, please?
Yes, Chairman. This property is zoned office institutional, and they are requesting a conditional use, which is required to have condominium units. I'm going to show a picture. This is zoned office institutional. This is a picture they provided that would like to build on the property. This property consists of around 3 acres. The applicant is stating that a full set of plans, actual cost is about $90,000, so they want to make sure that the Board of Commission likes this plan. In the development, if it's approved and a conditional use permit is granted, The fire apparatus on the roads will need to comply with the 2018 International Fire Code, Section 503, Appendix D. The developer will need to ensure that the water supply is capable of supplying the required fire flow for the fire protection of this development. There is a city sewer on this property. It is a 6-inch clay line, depending on where the structures are located on the property, which we don't have that yet. They will probably have to relocate the existing sewer line and fill the old line in with the flow able to fill in, keep it from collapsing. Their standard is an 8-inch SDR 26 sewer pipe now is a minimum. Recommendation, the staff would recommend that the planning commission consider approval of the conditional use and the applicant to follow the highway corridor ordinance with the material and the structure. The landscape approved by the tree board will need to be done, and the setbacks of the structure according to the highway corridor ordinance. This is the first application for the conditional use application.
Thank you, Ms. Barbara. I do have some questions. What was submitted to me didn't appear to be a full application, as it was missing a site plan to show where the proposed building would sit on the property, setbacks, any access, any kind of stormwater. I know you said a full set of plans will cost around $90,000. I'm not necessarily concerned about reviewing a full set of plans. However, at a minimum, I think we need a complete set of elevations showing what the front, sides, and rear are going to look like. You know, the nuts and bolts of the fire, the building codes, that will come with that full set of plans. But how it's going to situate on the site, I didn't see in my packet any site plan of how it's going to situate, any setbacks, any density. I know in this O&I zoning district, there's a maximum impervious surface coverage of 40%. Things like that I didn't have, and I'm not sure if the applicant was able to provide that to you.
Well, I'll go back to the kind of the beginning. When this was done in 2007, there was 5 houses on this property.
Yep.
And they asked for a rezone sketch plan, preliminary plan. I do have a preliminary plan and minutes from 2007. But what was agreed upon with this picture I got doesn't match the preliminary plan I have.
So
The preliminary plan actually shows where the 5 houses were, but I can't, this is really small, I can't read it either. But then when you get over to page 7 of 15, there were like 26 units maybe. So I didn't include this with this plan, this concept, because this did not match that.
well,
So I didn't want to confuse anybody of the
Right.
concept here with these. So like I said, with the conditional of having residential on top of retail, would need the conditional use. And then when they get the plans for plans, because this plan and what's there would be different. I know that's a little confusing, but I didn't want to confuse people with, if I put this on the website, and this is what would be coming before the corridor commission would have 26 units. So I think the applicant would have to clarify
so
that.
as far as that, Barbara, I remember when that was rezoned. I remember when the applicant tore those houses down. The rezoning was,
Back in 2007.
right, the rezoning was to,
Office institution.
right. So
And
that plan was not, the rezoning was not contingent upon that plan. There are some conditions related to access, XL, decel lane, things like that, but nothing that says that property has to develop like that plan is. Going at the application we have tonight for the conditional use, in theory, I can say I personally am supportive of that, but I don't think that there's nothing that I see tonight that gives me enough information to make a positive recommendation personally. there appears to be some discrepancy in the application, as Exhibit A states there's a 3-story building, just one, with 2 elevators will be provided. The plan that we got shows a residential floor plan, what appears to be the 2nd floor living space above a 1st floor retail. But I didn't see anything that showed a 3rd floor plan. None of the floor plans that I showed have any elevators shown on them, just an exterior stairwell. And also the floor plans provided indicate that each retail space having its own front and rear entrance. But the front elevations provided here, or in the plan, I should say, in the plan I got, doesn't show a front door for all the retail spaces. So while I think maybe the application may have been premature, I mean, I don't want to say that without hearing the applicant, but is there anything that I'm missing with what the applicant provided you to give to us?
No, I just didn't want to put that other one up there. when
Yeah,
it's
the
not.
other one has no bearing, obviously. Okay, well,
According to these, the drawings that you got, is the floor plan for the.
for the
living-
retail, yes ma'am, living
Well,
space.
living
No, that's
and
the living.
retail
That's 2nd
space,
floor,
right.
yeah.
But like I said, back in the 2007, when they had their June council meeting, there was a hearing, and they did retail space on the 1st floor not to exceed 5,000 square feet. An Excel decel on Annie P. Henderson.
Yep.
Developed plan to be shown to the planning commission, the mayor and council, as part of the plan review by Walton County. Because back then, we were actually
Walton County is
contracted by
performing,
Walton
yeah.
County. Limit of 800 square feet for 1 bedroom, 700 for 2 bedroom. Condo fee simple use for residential above commercial. Owner agrees to all. And then we had the minutes from, I think it's September. We did the other minutes for mayor and council. It's pretty much the same thing. I think I gave you a picture of the color drawing. It's kind of that, it's just
Yes.
the same thing.
Okay.
And then you get the units on the bottom with the retail, and it shows each square footage for 4 units on the bottom. And then on the plan, on the house plan, there's 5. So, like I said, I didn't have a detailed plan of showing how the elevators and all that would be working.
Yeah.
So I didn't include that.
Are there actually going to be 10 residential units, like 2nd and 3rd floor?
No, and it
Just 5.
says 5.
Okay. Because that just said 2nd
Well,
floor.
so,
It just says 2nd, but right there when you look at it, it looks like there's 3 stories. That's true.
Correct.
well, should we hear from the applicant?
Let's try
And like
that.
I said, this one is on the conditional use of applying for office, institutional, and conditional use. And then, like I said, the other part's gonna get into the highway corridor requirements.
So let's, who is here representing Social Circle Exchange?
I am Dana Sarr.
Okay, Ms. Sark?
Ready?
Yes, ma'am, come on up.
You can learn tonight. All right, and I appreciate y'all, the board, letting us come forward here. This project, we're so excited for the city to be able to revive the project. One thing that was not included that may have helped a little bit, Mr. Gaither, is we do actually have the full set of plans. And I did have a small copy of that, but that gives the detail of setbacks and everything. And so that would probably have been a little bit more helpful for the board to understand.
Now, we have that, but that's
And this.
20-something units.
Well, it's 3-story though, so it's up above. So let me show you what else we have here.
Okay, so that was the
I still don't understand
preliminary.
how many units are there.
And if I can approach the board.
Sure.
is that okay? I have each a copy of here that'll just give you a little bit more information for you.
Thank you.
And we definitely want something that's,
Thank you.
good for the city and that the city welcomes, because that's important to us when we're spending money in the city, and also for y'all. So basically, just to reiterate what Barbara explained, there's a 24 one-bedroom units. This is a 3-story mixed-use commercial block, and That's why it was zoned for office institutional, and we have presented before, and it's 34 two-bedroom, two-bath residential lots. And the main floor, we were limited to 5,000 commercial, which would consist of a bakery and ice cream shop, and then a tavern in likeness to what you have in Madison, the Chop House. The fitness center and the coffee bar station and business center area, with kiosk workstations for the residents. And we know a lot of people work from home now, especially due to COVID. But the visual for, and the architect is working on that. Like I said, we spent today about, I think I've spent $38,000 on the actual plans, as far as the development plans. But the architect is still working on the rendering. And this is kind of gives you an idea of just the street walk view, which is what is important for the highway corridor. And of course, all your guidelines will meet the,
That's fine.
all the guidelines will of course meet the requirements for the fire. You know, we'll be required to have sprinklers and update the water and the development and stuff. In between the actual plan, which I don't know that, did you get this layout or not?
No,
I
ma'am.
know, because I didn't think it matched what you gave with that. I didn't-
It does. That was just to give a look of kind of what we were proposing, looking for. But, you know, we're here to be good neighbors. We want to have something that, you know, the board's happy with. So basically, you know, we would be looking for sidewalk across the front. We would have covered in front of the units and have outdoor patio. In between the design, let's see. Susan, do you have any stuff? Let's get a little bit closer so that you can see.
If I had that, I could
Yeah.
have put it on the system.
Yeah, that's fine, that's fine. And we don't want to, like I said, we want everybody to be happy with the project. As you come in here, the plans show for private parking for the residents. And then you have your open parking here. There's more than enough parking for the residents. It is 3 stories. We'll have an elevator at each end, as well as stair parking, and everything will meet the handicap guidelines as well. But in between, you have an open corridor area that will be kind of like a parkside sitting, and it will be 5 across. We've eliminating these 2 so that we have covered area, so that the ice cream shop on this end can have a covered patio area, as well as the other project there. And, you know, we're looking at brick exterior. We want it to be aesthetically pleasing, driving down through there. We did have 5 homes removed that weren't very pleasant homes at the time.
They were quite old, I remember.
The city was helpful in, you know, helping that with the fire department to burn them down. But no, we're excited. We're super excited to bring it back to life, and we're hoping that it's something that, you know, the citizens and everybody will be happy with. So.
Sure. I appreciate you bringing that. I wish we would have had all this together.
Right.
Because I personally looked at this and I thought, oh, you're just going to do
Yeah.
a building that has, you know, 5 retail and residential above. That, you know, on a 3-acre site, maybe that was phase 1, but yeah, this.
Is there any reason that it didn't get here in time? Copies?
What do you mean you didn't
That
get
you
in time?
didn't
This,
present
no,
that?
no, this was submitted when I submitted the application.
She did
But I-
submit this, but
Yes.
with the picture,
Okay,
It was a little
Yes.
confusing on Barbara's
Confusing.
end, and that's
Didn't
okay.
go together.
that's
Yeah.
fine.
That's
I
okay.
didn't
Well,
understand that at all.
So instead of 5,
It's 58.
58.
Well, you've got 3, it's 3-story.
I
so it
understand
makes
how many
out-
stories
yeah,
it is.
yeah, it's 3 stories. So on the first floor, you've got the ice cream shop, the tavern, the commercial.
Plus
and then the
60
second-
apartments.
Now, we did not have the writing out, because all I had was the conditions. I didn't have this. This would have explained a lot more.
Well, it did have on there how many,
But
but yeah, we cut back
and
actually
kind
some.
of together, so.
And that's fine, you know, we're here to see what it is this board prefers, likes, you know.
So what's,
Because here's the other, that you're.
Yeah, that's what
when we
that's what I
first
saw.
did.
Yeah, I saw
Right.
that.
Yeah, and I thought there was just
Yeah.
one building on there, and I thought, okay, you know, what, but what is the total density, square footage, would you say, your overall footprint for your residential and non-residential?
So, hold on one second.
Are we looking at 30,000 square foot an acre? 'Cause you're at a little
Um,
over 3 acres.
Hold on one second, I'll figure that for you right quick. And I guess, you know, this is site specific, I mean, we're looking at, a little more than 50,000 square foot on a 3 acre tract.
On, okay, so,
Right, right. And it's not uncommon, when you go through the corridor of Augusta, you go through Madison, you know, you see buildings of this nature that fit right in the community.
so in order, when I look at a conditional use application such as this, it's important for us to see the site plan, how it lays out. I'm looking at the use. Is the use appropriate for this location? That's something that we as a planning commission have to consider and make that recommendation. And the city council has to determine, is that use appropriate at this location? I remember when you brought it before us in 2007.
Long time.
It has been, and yeah, I'm grateful that you did tear those houses down in
Yeah.
2007 when you did, but it's, you know, I think it's time to see something happen on that piece of property. And that's what, you know,
Yeah.
you're here before us to consider that, and I wish I had more of the site plan and information to help prepare myself for this meeting. Because I have a lot of just open-ended questions that I think if I had that site plan, that would be helpful. The next item on the agenda, we'll get to that in a moment, is for the corridor, the COA, certificate of appropriateness, and that goes into the elevations. What are materials? What does the front, sides, and rear of the buildings look like? Are they compatible with that corridor ordinance? And that's what we look at. So while I am cognizant of the overall cost for construction plans, I'm certainly not asking for the construction plans. I'm asking for that site plan. Like you showed, you had a full set of construction plans, but the site plan, how it's laid out, what changes have you done to it, that master plan from 2007 to now? You know, like you said, you took out one section, it's gonna be a covered pavilion, covered seating area,
Yeah.
things like that.
Well, it
that-
didn't really kind of show that. That was kind of it actually shows it on that small little plan. It has it there, but it says on the end of it, I believe one of them that it's open. But, you know, I can go back to the drawing board, you know, we can give you a little bit, you know, more time at the next meeting, you know, if that makes you feel comfortable. If it's something that board's willing to look at and consider, you
Yeah.
know, and I think it would be great for the community. You know, I came before the city for its own place, you
Yeah.
know, wonderful office park. There was no place for businesses, small businesses for their offices. And that was at a time when, you know, it was not the residential and, you know, it's done well. And then, you know, several other things, but I'm love the city. I'm actually an encourager of the city. And I'd love to see it grow. And we've got a lot of young people. We have Ms. Farley here tonight. She's our first occupant. She wants to buy one, so she's for it. But yeah, I mean, it really is a need for the community.
Okay.
So. But we want everybody to welcome
Sure.
it. So.
Well, are there any other questions for the applicant at this time?
Yeah, I got one.
Okay.
As some areas, they do the townhouses, they rent some and they sell some.
Our goal is we want residents. This is gonna be underneath a condo, and that
Okay, so they'll be-
association, that was the reason for having the variance, per Ms. Barbara, was for the purpose of that, because we are doing a condo. The amenities are for the residents, and that will be, you know, governed, maintained. It won't be a burden on the city, because it'll be a maintenance of the residents. And, I mean, we're looking for ownership here.
Okay.
To say it's 100%, I can't tell you that, Mr. Criswell, but I can tell you that I'm excited because this is Not that it matters to many of y'all, but this isn't Atlanta coming in, trying to change social circle. It's Walton County, it's local people, and I'm here to listen to what you want and to do what's best for the city. So, we're not coming in to say, hey, we want this project, but yet we're gonna give it to the Joe Blow down the street. We're coming to say that we're here and we're gonna see the project till the end, and I think that means something in today's world.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Not right now.
Okay. We may have some other questions
No
for you.
problem, thank you.
At this
Appreciate your
time, if there's anyone who'd like to speak in favor of this request, please come to the podium. Yes, sir.
Tom Brown, 169 North Dogwood Avenue, and also a member of the Preservation Commission. I'm not speaking on behalf of the Preservation Commission because we did not review this. So I like to have input as a resident and a member of. Okay. Certainly, I would be in favor of a use like this where you have retail on the bottom, residential on top, good combination, good structure, could complement the city and help in a lot of ways. So certainly, I would be in favor of that. But I condition that by saying this is going to be a 3-story structure. It's going to be probably the most visible structure on North Cherokee. And it can be a very complementary structure. I'm just asking that I speak in favor of it, but I'm looking to y'all's expertise to apply standards and conditions and whatever to ensure a very quality construction that would complement the city and the corridor, because it is in the historic district. It is. So we have a lot of things in common on that. Not in opposition, but in common. So I'd like to kind of go that route. I just made a copy of a few things, I'm not going to take up much time, on this, on the conditional use. One of the criteria is number 10, whether the proposed plan will adversely affect historic buildings, sites, districts. I don't see that it would, but there again, the standard to bring it up to par would be important, which I cannot speak to based on what I see. Also, you want to comment on the conditional use and the COA, or just the
Let's
conditional?
stick on the conditional use at
Okay.
this time, sir, please.
Okay, I support that, and I think it'd be a good type of addition to the city. So I'm in favor of that.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Debbie Connor Smith, and I just want to clarify that the reason we had to ask for a conditional use is the O&I, you can do laws already without having any, but we wanted to do condos so that we could sell them and that they would have an association that would, you know, control it. And so that was why, and to move forward and keep spending money on the project, the conditional use is one of the things that we need to know if it's even going to be viable, because that's what we want to do. We want to sell those condos.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Raise your hand. She's excited about the project.
I'm not much of a speaker. I think condos to me for an older person is great. You know, that we don't have to get out and cut grass, we don't have to do all that maintenance. You know, I think it would be something great in Social Circle. I love Social Circle, I haven't lived here a long, long time, but what time I have spent here, I really enjoyed the small town. And I just think it would be great for the city, but, you know, that's just my own personal opinion. I do own a house here in Social Circle, but I would like something smaller for, as I get older, to, you know, maintain and take care of. But I would like to see it happen, but I know that's up to you guys, so please
Can
keep
you
in
state your
mind.
name?
Carla Ma,
Thank you, ma'am.
you're welcome.
Anybody else who'd like to speak in favor? Okay. Is there anyone here that'd like to speak in opposition? All right. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing for the conditional use permit. What are the planning commission's thoughts?
Well, I think it would have been helpful to have a lot of this information.
Yeah.
Previously.
It would certainly have helped me to have a site plan and have some
Yeah,
architecture.
because this is not what I was expecting at all.
Yeah.
I mean, as it relates to what it is, yeah, I mean, I think it's the idea, the concept is good. But, yeah, when you get this and you go, oh, it's 5 wide, 3 high, and that's the end of it, you know, it does make it difficult. And if we're looking at it from a conditional aspect, I think that the potential for it is there, but from the appropriateness aspect, which I know
Jay,
we're
I'm
talking
gonna have
about
to ask you
conditional.
to speak up, because.
Sorry,
we won't
yeah,
be able to hear you, so I need to get mics.
As far as the conditional thing goes, I believe there's some give there that we can have. However, you know, like we've all said, it's enough information to look at it and go, this is exactly what we're trying to cross the bridge with.
How many acres are we? 3?
It's right around 3.
3.17? At 3 acres, that's a little over 19 residences per acre. And are these going to be age restricted? Is it possible for these to be age restricted?
So no, won't be age restricted, be fee simple, looks like open to anybody.
18.3. I think that's right. I'll do that right. And if it's gonna start at 239K for 800 square foot, what happens if all of them don't sell?
And I guess they either rent or lower the price until they do sell. Yeah. I think the concept is a good concept. Is it appropriate for that location? Just looking at the use of a mixed use
No, I've heard people say
condo.
you know, they're looking for that kind of thing, but
I mean,
the si-
58 condos is
the
a lot
size.
for downtown socials.
Well, and, you know, Valerie, you mentioned the price. Looking at the cost of construction and Ms. Saros in construction, I imagine that price point would be much higher than 239 due to material costs, labor costs, everything that we're
Right,
seeing.
if we're gonna make a brick building.
Even right now, as we're seeing inflation and we're seeing in the industry, we're seeing our pool of buyers shrink because interest rates are going up. Those prices are still going to continue to stay elevated. So, you know, I think 240 is great, but I don't think that's realistic. I think they'll be much higher considering the cost of materials. You're talking about brick buildings, 3 stories, you're talking elevators, all that's got to be consumed within the 58 units to sell in order to make the money back. But that's not what we're here to consider.
Right.
Is the use appropriate for this location? I'm hung up on that. I don't have enough information based on seeing the site
I
plan,
would agree.
seeing the density to make
Yeah.
a positive decision or recommendation for the conditional use at this point. But I also think about the density. Is the density of 58 residential units appropriate at this location? I struggle with that. That is substantial
That was a
density.
little bit of-
Now,
yeah.
given that they're 1 and 2 bedroom units, that's telling me that they're not going to be filled with residents who have kids in the school system. Now, it's possible, but not likely. And that's what housing studies have told us, that our own housing study that we performed told us that families aren't buying the 1 and 2 bedroom units. That's going to be reserved for the couple, the individual, things of that nature. But thinking about the overall impact, positive and negative, that a development of this nature can bring to us, I just don't have enough information personally to be positive about a recommendation.
Yeah, I would like to see
A complete site
Site
plan.
plan.
Yeah, I would too. I'd like to see a little more about that. That's just where I stand. So.
All right.
If there's
If
no,
I understood this site plan was something they were discussing, we could have loaded it up, but I didn't. I apologize.
well, and I think the application was looking at it. It appeared to kind of be a sporadic, incomplete application. Barbara, I'm certainly not pinning that on you because you don't know what the applicant fully intends. I look at this and it doesn't look like 58 units. It doesn't look like full mixed use of the entire 3 acres. So, I see where, yeah, there's conditions of zoning. The conditions are not to that particular site plan from 2007. That site can be much different. It's just conditioned to retail space not to exceed 5,000 square feet on the first floor. An XL and a decel lane on NEP Henderson. Development plan to be shown to planning and zoning and mayor and council. Limit 800 square foot for 1 bedroom and 1,100 square foot for 2 bedroom. Now that's not saying they have to be that size, they can be larger. And that the condos be fee simple for residential above commercial, so that condition right there, Mike, would answer your question about rental. It couldn't be rental, it has to be fee simple. That's a condition of zoning from 2007. And said the owner agrees to all. So in 2007, these were the conditions placed on it. It wasn't conditioned that it had to be developed as the site plan showed in 2007. That was not a condition that it has to be developed in this manner. That was just the general guidelines placed upon the zoning. So I think with a little more massaging, a little more work, I would hope to see a more complete application.
Agreed.
That's me. Adolphus.
I mean, I don't think we have enough information to go on. Can't make a decision, don't have enough information.
Okay. Ms. Brown?
I agree with him.
Okay.
I'd certainly like to see a more complete application for consideration.
Yes.
Okay. Thoughts?
I think we need to more.
Okay. Mr. Griswold? Well,
So does somebody have to motion?
yeah, so we will need a motion since it is on, item on the agenda. Motion for the conditional use.
Do you have opportunity, I'm sorry, to see?
No, ma'am, the public hearing is closed.
I am going to recommend we table this based on the submission of a comprehensive site plan to be considered at a later meeting.
Okay.
What other information do you need in there?
I'll second.
Yep. So we have a motion made by Valerie to table this request for a special or conditional use for condos in the O&I zoning district to allow for submission of a complete site plan to be considered at a later meeting. And we have a second by Mr. Criswell. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Okay, thank you. So the next item is 856 North Cherokee Road. It's a certificate of appropriateness for the Corridor Commission, Highway Corridor Commission. So in this situation, we're looking at the architectural elements and how they fit with the corridor ordinance. And the applicant kindly provided us a rendering of potentially what the buildings could look like. In the application, they look much different than what the applicant provided. Very similar situation for me personally. You know, Barbara, if you'd like, if you have a separate staff report for that.
I do.
Okay.
Just 1 second. Let's see. All right, this is on the, she's got the,
Yeah, I'm all spread out, taking up everybody's workspace here, so.
sorry. Okay. I may have gave mine to Valerie. I think.
Would you like it?
I
I'll
don't
let
know.
you use it, because I left my packet.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm terribly sorry. I did look
Okay,
at it.
this is on the,
Come on, Valerie.
this is on
Come prepared
the
now.
corridor overlay. And I was just gonna say, this thing to work. This is in the historic district, but this is our future land use map. And in this area, it does say that this is our central historic character area. And this is our future land use map that we just adopted. It did not change that area. So they are asking to be in the highway corridor ordinance. Mainly, Miss Glenda, let me see yours. Oh, you didn't bring yours in?
Yeah, she's whole packet.
Let me see yours there. No.
Which one of those?
It's one of those there. 1, 2, 3.
I read it all.
I did
I
too.
just forgot to pick it up when I got out of it.
Okay, all right, this is it.
Okay.
No, that's not.
That's
I
the only one.
apologize, y'all. We are, got so many papers going around here.
It's everything except for
Scott, did you have my staff report for this one?
The only staff report I received was for the.
Conditional use?
Conditional use, yes, ma'am.
And I think because of the, I didn't have, or I wasn't thinking this preliminary plan fit that picture.
Okay,
So on the highway corridor, you've got to have setbacks,
yes, ma'am.
which I would need, and I had this, I did have this, but I couldn't read this
Yes.
because they're so small. So if I'd have had the digital, we might have could have loaded that up and added it to it.
Yes, ma'am.
But when you're actually building the building I thought we were building, according to this picture, I thought just the one was gonna be built.
Just
on here,
one and not,
but not that many.
Yes, ma'am.
Of knowing what this was. So the sidewalks would be at the front, and they did approve for the DCL XL lane to be on Annie P. Henderson and not Highway 11.
yes,
It would have private parking in the back for the condos, and then public parking in the middle, I guess, for the retail business.
yes, ma'am.
So on the site plan with the highway corridor ordinance, it states you gotta be 100 feet backside of the right of way. The landscaping would need to be approved through the tree board,
Okay,
and we would need a landscape plan to present to them before they, you cannot get a land disturbance permit on any land until it goes to the tree board, so that they know you're not gonna just clear cut everything down.
yes, ma'am.
So we would need the landscape plan so we can present it to the tree board.
Okay,
Otherwise, it just needs to meet the highway corridor ordinance, and I did pull up the ordinance, and it's got different things that, you know, that the plans would have to have on it.
yes, ma'am.
But until we have that plan, so that we know what we're looking at to pull this together with that ordinance. You've got different criterias, and the reason for the highway corridor ordinance was, back in 2005 and 6, we got metal buildings built on the highway. So that's one of the reasons we have the highway corridor ordinance, was to build it out of brick or wood. That's one of the criteria, is brick, wood, party plank, siding, which this shows in the picture, they would do that. I just couldn't read these to
Yep.
see that this would go with it, or if it did go with it, you know, on the site plan, if this meets that.
Yes, ma'am.
We had a fire, we'll go back to that too. We had a fire years and years ago where we had plans over here at the Welcome Center, and when the roof caught on fire,
I remember that
they
day.
kind of dumped a lot of plans over into the dumpster. They didn't know, let's lay them out, see if we can save anything. So we have looked upstairs. I know when Dana said something about, you know, we had those plans that she's got a big copy of that we could scan in. I don't have them anymore. So I don't know if that was one of the ones that got thrown in the dumpster or not.
Well, in that case, since the project never got built
And it
after
never got
2007,
built.
yeah,
It did not.
you know, you're not required to keep plans forever, not unless it gets built.
No. But we don't usually throw anything away if we, you know, well, that's why we have a storage shortage.
Okay.
We try not
Well-
to throw too many things away. Especially plans, but, you know, if it doesn't get built after so long, and we did contract with the county.
Yep, at
back
that time,
then.
yeah.
So I don't know if they went to the county or if it got destroyed in that fire. I don't remember.
Sure.
Because like I said, they're not upstairs. And then this one I couldn't compare to this drawing.
Sure.
So I didn't
Okay.
think it matched.
I would say they probably got thrown out because
It's
I
a
was
long
next
time.
door when that fire happened.
The only other thing with this property, it does, it's right beside the zoning of a residential, so
Mm-hmm.
you've got the setback buffer that we gotta make sure on the plan goes between that house.
To the north.
To the north. That's a residential property. There's a buffer in residential to an office institution, I think it's like 125 feet,
Okay.
something like that.
I think it's
Well,
almost done.
at this time, Ms. Sorrow, would you like to come up and give a
I sure
presentation
would.
on the COA request?
Yeah, I want to reiterate that the only reason for the conditional use was to allow for the condo association. This zoning allows for residential lots. But we wanted to be able to offer something to the community and the young citizens because we're missing the boat again. They're going straight to, and I can, for a fact, because I've been in real estate for 30 years in Walton County, they're occupying Covington and just all these new guys that are coming in for this new electric plant, young people. And we considered doing the retirement age and age restricted, but the problem is we've got so many young people coming in the communities that.
Ms. Sorrow, I'm going to
wanna talk.
pause you for a second. Let's talk about the COA.
Okay,
Let's don't
sure.
talk the conditional, because that was
Sure.
the past.
Okay.
Thank
I
you.
understand, I respect that.
Thank you.
So basically, we're looking at nature brick. Certainly, we will meet the tree ordinance, tree board, everything that they need. I had put several thousand into the actual plan. On that particular plan, it's a survey, topo, everything's been done. It fits that exact plot there, so nothing's been changed. Just unfortunately, you didn't have that, which it might have been a little bit more informative for you guys. But, we're looking for something that when you drive down through here, just as if you go through Augusta, Madison, some of the other cities, it's pleasing to the city. And we back up to a plant, right there off the city, which is visible from the city now, from the corridor. I really believe that this is going to be advantageous for the city. We're going to use gas, which is going to help the city, And I know you said there aren't school children, but there are advantages and there are tax dollars to this nature. And we, as a developer, realize that we're going to have to improve what's along the corridor, the sidewalks, certainly upgrade the water pipe and all.
Let's talk about that. Have you reviewed the corridor guidelines, the architectural requirements?
Like I said, that the architect, he is working on everything. as
So you
best
have
as
not
he can.
reviewed those? He's,
Yes.
okay, okay.
No, we have, yeah, we've
Okay.
looked at that. I've developed, you don't know a lot about me, but I've developed 25 subdivisions. I work for a hedge fund in Atlanta that would love to come do this, and I'm like, no, this is my project because it's my hometown. But yeah, I'm familiar upgrading the water.
No,
upgrading
the corridor ordinance itself, the architectural
Yes.
requirements, have you reviewed
the
that?
brick, the wood.
Yes,
the-
ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah, It's
that-
very
that's-
important. Yeah, it's very important, and I agree. I mean, it needs to be something that you flow down through there. We're not asking to put up anything contemporary. We want to stay, I mean, I love being part of the historic district. And certainly, you know, we don't want to be here if we're not welcome.
Yep.
And, you know, we want to follow, you know, the guidelines. And it's just unfortunately that the way the city does, and so in their ordinances, I mean, you're looking at $800,000 in sewer and water tap fees. I've built in the city for years. I'm quiet, sometimes, I guess. But I just finished 6 homes in Dove Landing, and they sold for mid-twos and up. And, you know, that helped vacant lots. I developed Laurel Oaks. I begged people to come to the city. I couldn't get other builders because they didn't want to pay the fees. I did a lot of Brookstone Place, you know. I did Creekside at Riverstone. Just unfortunately, it was a bad time. And but I'd like to keep it along the guidelines, of course. And when we take on a piece of property and we do the full set of construction plans like we have for the site, and then we do the full architectural plans, I know the city has well-qualified people that review those. And so, yeah, I mean, we went through them and we know what it requires, and we're willing to do that.
The reason I ask is we had another applicant just recently who bought in the corridor and met with staff. Staff introduced him to the corridor. Must have went in one ear out the other, and he went completely different direction. So that I don't believe the corridor was full in effect when you had this before us in
Not before.
2006, 2007. Yeah,
No.
that's why I asked. That's all.
Right.
Yeah.
I went before the Mr. Brown and
Yep,
his
the historic
committee.
preservation. Yep.
Right,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
they liked what they saw. And then I was told by Barbara that rather than go through them again, we just need to go through your group.
Yep, and then mayor and
because we
council,
did that,
yep.
Yeah, and I'm familiar with a lot of the group that has bought stuff in the city. And saddened to say, it came across my desk today, and they're just trying to sell it. And this is something that, you know, I'm here to say I'm committed. You're gonna see me on the back end and the front end. And I think that's important. And I think, you know, the city should be proud that their local people want to invest in the community. So,
Okay.
that's it.
All right. Is there anyone else that would like to speak about the COA and about the architectural requirements for this corridor? Anyone who'd like to speak?
You know, are we public hearing now?
Yes, we're in public hearing.
Okay, I'd like to speak in favor of.
Yes, sir.
Again, Tom Brown, 169 North Albert Avenue, a member of the Preservation Commission. I'm making comments based on the application that I saw online. That's all I could go by. Could you please clarify, how many units are we talking about on that 3.5?
58 residential, and I'm not sure, from what I could tell,
Yes.
how much resident or retail.
Okay, because I didn't see that number of units, you know, in the application. I thought it was gonna be like retail 5,000 square feet and about 5 units above there, and that'd be it.
That's what we thought
I
as well.
didn't realize it'd be 58 units, and I'm not saying I'm opposed to that, I just didn't realize that's pretty high density. Also, like I said before, it's a 3-story building, and that can be a real compliment to the city, a real good addition to the city. But it's important because it's in the corridor and the historic district that it have the right kind of image, portray the right kind of image. It's going to be there for a long time, and it's going to be probably the most noticeable building along North Cherokee, the most noticeable one. So I ask that you know, look at the standards. The standards are quite good as far as site planning, architectural, landscape, orientation, setback, scale, construction materials. I would ask that the standards are good, but because of the location and the size of the building, up it a notch. Go a little bit above what the standards call for. We've done that on HBC because of the nature of it, the scale of it. It can be a very proud addition. We just need to be kind of careful about where it's going to show.
Absolutely.
And also to a comment earlier, I know that it was presented in 2007 and approved. The ordinance has probably changed quite a bit since 2007. The Corridor Commission by name may not have even been in existence at that time. I don't recall, but please take into effect the changes in the ordinance that might bring more to bear for an applicant to do what they're going to do, as to what they were going to propose in 2007. So I'm in favor of it. I'm just asking to be cautious about the quality of the structure, the number of units. I did not know we had 58 units. That's a bit much. But I'm in favor of it.
Okay, thank you.
It's done in a certain manner.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in favor of the COA request? Is there anyone who'd like to speak in opposition to the COA request? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Go ahead, sir.
Again, there's no plans.
Yeah.
I have a question. How long is it gonna take your architect to finish the plans so we can take a look at them?
Well, I'd like to ask the board exactly, are you talking about the exterior of it? You're not talking about
I'm
the
talking
full
about
site plan?
everything, elevations,
Well, I mean, he can do an elevation plan, and he can do an overview so that he shows you the layout with the parking and the trees, and that's what he's working on. And, but I would say probably, I could probably have him have that within the week. He
well,
just wasn't quite finished on that.
okay.
So can you call a special meeting, or does that not work?
Does that work for
So
you?
that we can meet
I
back
mean, it's
and,
just,
this time is of essence. We want to start this as soon as possible so that we can be finished by February, March of next year.
I can understand that, but
Yeah,
we can't really look
That's
at
fine.
this and do what we need to do to get it finished up.
I understand.
There's not enough information.
okay.
There will be additional information on a complete site plan about materials used and all of that, correct?
It should, yes, ma'am. And I would think that, you know, I definitely don't want to put words in this commission's mouth, but if we're looking to also make a recommendation to table the COA so we can look at the architectural, then
I think we just.
what we need to look at is yes, the site plan to go with the conditional use, and the site plan also to go with the COA to make sure it ties in with those requirements, to look and see, is the use and is the appearance and proposed fit the
And
corridor?
heights.
Absolutely, heights, absolutely.
I
So
have a concern.
I think that's, you know, that's something that we need to look at, and I think that's within our purview as the Corridor Commission and the Planning Commission to consider those, is having that information.
So we could recommend that we table this as well until
Yep.
until we have a complete site
To a
plan.
complete COA application
Right.
with elevations is
I
provided.
don't think that's the proper wording. That's the second time that she made it.
So, do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to recommend we table to a later date until consideration of full site plan and architectural plans have been received for review.
Okay. So, I'm gonna reiterate your motion,
Brief.
because you whispering it over here.
I'm sorry.
Jay made
Jay's
a,
whispering.
Jay made a motion to table the COA request to a later date in order for the applicant to provide a full site plan and full architectural as to comply with the corridor commission,
Correct.
right? Okay,
Second.
and we have a second. All right, all those in favor, raise your hand. That was unanimous. And Ms. Farrell, so the mayor and council may approve these. They may follow the planning commission's recommendation and table them. If they do, and your architect and you have your engineered site plans, if your engineered site plans meet the corridor ordinance requirements, and your architect finishes those as well, and you can get them resubmitted to Barbara, it's very possible that we could hear this in July. But because we didn't have a complete application and enough information, we could not render a recommendation that's beneficial for your application tonight, either application.
Well, let me understand correctly. So the conditional use was for the purpose of saying, yes, we will allow condos on this property, correct?
That's what you applied for.
Okay, right, to allow condos per the advice of Barbara, because we want these to be simple to sell them and then them be maintained versus residential lots, which would be one owner and not individually owned. So that was the purpose of the conditional use. That's why we came before you with that versus just residential lots.
Okay, so residential loss wouldn't have given you
They're permitted in this.
as a permitted use by right.
Yes.
Okay,
But we felt like condos being fee simple and able to sell to people like Miss Carla here and maintain their own community was a better fit, and pay taxes individually was a better fit. So that was, I just wanted everybody to understand the purpose of the conditional use.
well, with the, and let me finish the agenda. Barbara, is there any old business? Okay. And no new business? Anybody have anything to discuss?
I did want to say, new business, the future of the comprehensive plan was approved by mayor and council, and future land use map
Okay,
is been adopted.
thank you. With no other items, Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion.
Second.
All in favor, signify by raise your hand. Thank you. Motion passed unanimously.
Made a first and second.